So originally I wasn't even going to do this video. Um, it's about E3, so that's good. But nah, not really. This year was a bit crap, to be honest. A lot of people have started to realize the overhype of all the games that were at E3. I mean, my god. Probably one of the biggest sort of applause, the biggest hype, the biggest everyone jumps up and puts their arms in the air was like for Final Fantasy VII Remake. And yes, I'm looking forward to that game, but I'm not necessarily going to jump up in the air for it. The reason being is because all they're going to do is get the game which they made originally, slap some brand new, like instead of polygons, it'll be like fully three-dimensional graphics. It'll be full HD. It'll look like some of the Final Fantasy games that are out there at the moment, and all that sort of stuff. That's all well and good for like the new generation, but I don't know why people who are fans and who have played Final Fantasy VII before are getting so excited about it, because it's going to be the same game again, which seems to be the problem with a lot of games that are E3. Everyone was jumping up in the air saying, yeah, I can't believe this is happening, when I didn't see a single original idea up there. Everyone is sort of blinded by this feeling for like nostalgia for like old consoles such as PS1 and PS2. That's why everyone says, oh, the PS2 was awesome. It's because a lot of people that grow up with video game consoles happen to grow up with PS2 and stuff like that, and they're the people that get hurt the most at the moment. But then the PS3 came out and everyone went, I didn't grow up with any of these games, therefore they're all gonna suck. And that gave new IPs and stuff a hard time, which is why now game developers have this audience which they feel like they need to impress massively by creating concepts which have already been done before, and instead of creating new concepts, they're copying concepts, which doesn't necessarily make it a good game. Last Guardian is a typical example. Everyone was really excited for Last Guardian when they saw the original footage for it and all this sort of stuff, and was like, oh, this could be this new thing. But because everyone's showed how good Shadow of the Colossus and Eco were, everyone said, oh, if the Last Guardian isn't as good as these two games, I'm going to be absolutely angry. I'm going to tear it apart. If it isn't similar in any way possible, I'm just going to absolutely hate the game. So the game developers panicked, and now it looks like Eco with a massive dog creature playing the part as the Colossus from Shadow of the Colossus. You climb onto it, it jumps and all that sort of stuff, which is very underwhelming. So yeah, a lot of games are doing this now. That a lot of game developers have like looked at this and say, oh, it's a completely new original idea and all this sort of stuff, and they're really not. They're ideas which were taken from other games, and I think if they slap them together it'll be good, which it's not. It just makes the franchise boring. It makes a new IP boring, and I don't know, just like so many, like No Man's Sky, that looked like it was going to be amazing when it was first announced, and it still looked amazing at E3, but because of the amount of concepts and stuff that the amount of new ideas that were originally imported in there, of course they're going to have to put in a crafting system, and they're going to have to put in all this other stuff that just makes it look like another indie space Minecraft rip-off again. And I don't want it to be there, because so the audience was like really underwhelmed with that game as well. It's like, yes, remember, each one of these stars is actually, it's got its own sun, its own solar system, all this sort of stuff. So he zoomed back and he saw how many there were, and everyone was like, yes, yes. But when it actually came to the real gameplay of it, everyone just sort of stopped applauding. And it looks like it could be good, but if everyone's gonna throw out, if it's not like this game, there's going to be rubbish, then you're never going to get anything new. It's one of the big problems with Call of Duty games is the fact that it's all unoriginal. Everyone say, "Oh, I want something new, but not too new that I don't recognize anymore. I want something that has loads and loads of new gameplay features, but nothing that's overwhelming. So not too many gameplay features. I want a wide selection of guns that are all new and flashy, but not too flashy. I need to know that they're actually guns, and that's why like games like Advanced Warfare just got so crap. And now it's looking like the same thing is happening to the majority of the games which I saw at E3. The only panel that looked vaguely original was Nintendo's, and that was, they had fun with it, which was cool, but having fun with a panel is one thing, showing us amazingly new stuff is another thing. Like everyone is hell-bent on getting as many remasterings and ports as possible at the moment. Oh, why is this game made for the Wii U and not for the 3DS? So of course Nintendo heard all these cries and went, well, let's get the game and port it to the 3DS, which, you know, I would have preferred a new game. Everyone was disappointed with the Zelda 3DS game, and I think that's a good idea. Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures did really good. I particularly love those games, and I like where they're going with Triforce Heroes, was it? And everyone just sort of went, it's gonna be crap. It's like the game hasn't even come out yet, and you're already wanting to change it. It's only just been announced. And this is where like one of the biggest complaints comes out. Game developers, because of this, they're starting to realize, and they're starting to think that new concepts and stuff are putting a concept that already exists in a game that didn't have it originally. Like, this isn't, I don't know if this game showed up at E3, I very much doubt it. But the Legend of Zelda Wii U game, they put a waypoint system in there and praised it for being this whole original idea. And it's like, look at every other fantasy game ever with a map. They generally have waypoint systems anyway, and this is a new. Like, oh, look, there's a beacon, we can go to that. And it'll just, praising Epona. Well, have you seen Shadow of the Colossus? I don't know. For more examples of games that were shown at E3, possibly one of the most original ideas I've seen there was Dreams, and everyone seemed very, very disappointed with Double M's title. I'm calling them Double M, I don't care. Because like, oh look, they made Little Big Planet, Little Big Planet 2, and Little Big Planet 3. We tend to not talk about Little Big Planet 3 because that was probably one of the most bizarre titles made by them. I mean, it was a good title, but they put it in a really weird direction. I don't want to talk about that. And then they came out with Dreams, which was like this new concept that like completely tore away from the Little Big Planet idea and just went, hey, we're all about creativity. Why don't, instead of us making these preset, pre-designed things, these pre-designed objects and stuff, why don't we just let the users create these objects themselves, like literally from scratch? And they showed like a little demo of how it's all done, and it looked amazing. It was like this new animation thing for PS4, and it looks absolutely beautiful and all this. But of course, it was new. It subtracted away from the all their other titles and stuff. So of course the audience just sort of sighed and said, next game please. Which, you know, no, just don't. So Destiny was on there, the DLC for that, which everyone like cheered for. I don't know why, because Destiny was like, well, good game. You know, it was a good game. But crap. Now, normally you can't say those two things in the same sentence, but somehow Destiny makes that work. It has good gameplay elements. of course, taken because it's Bungie and all that sort of stuff. They've done Halo in the past, so of course you know the first-person shooting is going to be top-notch. It's going to be amazing. Here's the problem with the game: it was the length of it. Like everything else was fine, but they had like pay to win, and the length was extremely short. Yes, they said season passes, you get all these upcoming DLCs, and they were like minor things, and then they said this next massive DLC, which will continue the story of Destiny, won't be included in the season pass. So everyone just went, gun, yay. So no. It's, I know. Square Enix, they did Kingdom Hearts 3, which I was originally excited for. Now I'm sort of getting that my hype is lowering down on it now. Reason being is because there are two things which a game developer can do positively at a panel or a convention. Number one is show the game, and number two is show some sort of really good sort of cinematic for the game, something like like a taste of the cutscenes of the game. So even if it's not part of it, if it's like made just for the event, show something that will get the crowd going. Didn't really do that. It showed a cutscene which I assume is going to be from the start of the game or the middle of the game or wherever in the game, which is like cool. I can kind of guess who those characters are going to be, so that's good. I love that franchise. Thumbs up to them for like less than a 10-second cutscene split throughout gameplay, which we've seen a couple of months ago. See, No Man's Sky, at least they did something. No Man's Sky was not an original concept, but they chose a concept and then they made it original. They made something that already exists and somehow made it original. And they brought a guy onto the stage to actually play the game, and people were in awe. Well, to start off with, and just showing the gameplay of how it is and how it works, that's amazing. But if you're going to show the same clip you showed people ages ago, no one's going to be like excited about that. I mean, everyone cheered about that, but once again, we saw that gameplay like a couple of months ago, and literally literally everyone back then was cheering for that, and it was nothing new. I don't know why everyone was so excited to see the same thing again. Then they had a weird documentary thing on it saying how they're importing new Disney like movie licenses into it, which I think's, I don't know. I get the point where they're trying to get like the new generation, the younger generation, into Kingdom Hearts, but the problem is, the point of Kingdom Hearts is that it was like a really complicated, serious plot, which was really complicated, and it's got something like, I don't know, 6 or 7 games on it now, and you know, the newer generation are gonna jumps right into Kingdom Hearts 3, and if they want to like see this amazing story and all this, they're gonna have no idea what's going on. So the point of Kingdom Hearts 3 was the fact that it was meant to appeal to a generation that has nostalgia for the levels that were there, not the current stuff. Because when the first Kingdom Hearts game came out, it was like right at the end of the golden age of Disney. I call it the golden age. It's when like all the big movies such as The Lion King and Mulan and all that sort of stuff. Or I don't know, like Lion King 3 was probably like the last golden age movie. But then after that, what happened was Disney decided to lock themselves into a basement and said, "Oh, 90s and 80s kids thought this was cool. Why don't we try throwing this into a show 50 times over, and then everyone will love it?" and then the unoriginality, well, the originality sort of stopped, and Disney died that day. But Kingdom Hearts was amazing because it was for people that loved those films, it was people that loved stuff like that, and one of its main drives was the nostalgia for that sort of stuff. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, people still loved it. Like Chain of Memories and all that sort of stuff, all those spin-off games, they still had like new original worlds and stuff, and it was based purely on nostalgia. Even if it did have like a really good plot woven in, the nostalgia was the thing that actually drove the series. Putting in new worlds to it is getting that original idea of that hype for nostalgia, looking how these worlds evolved, ripping it out, and then just going, hey, my daughter liked that film, bung it in there. No, because your audience didn't like that film. I mean, they may have watched it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to want to have it a part of one of their favourite games devoted to it. Anyway, they did another Final Fantasy 14 trailer for DLC. Could have seen that online anywhere, and to be honest, every MMO expansion pack looks the same these days, so I couldn't care about that. What else? I don't even want to mention the EA panel. Just nah. See, said Sony had The Last Guardian, and it had a bunch of all that stuff, so oh yeah, Microsoft had their sort of time to shine. They said, look at this new idea we have. It's called virtual reality. No one's ever heard of it before, and everyone just sort of went, crap. So they took that, and then they said, right, everyone wants to see it. You know, you've got Vocaloid in Japan and all of this sort of stuff, and we want to use that technology and I bring it over to the video game industry, and everyone's like, oh, are they talking about holograms? Are they talking about three-dimensional games, all this sort of stuff? So what we decided to do was give you goggles where instead of holograms, it would be there in front of you, and it's like, no, it's about as effective as the Oculus Rift. And even that's sort of like partnered up with various companies and stuff now, so people have sort of lost interest in that. Sony did hugely massive mistake of saying, right, okay, so we know you all hate motion control, so what we did was with the Mobius, you know, which everyone's looking forward to, everyone's absolutely looking forward to playing on consoles with something that's similar to an Oculus Rift. But, you know, with your friends and stuff, because this time that works, you can have multiple people in the same room where these headsets playing the same game. Here's the but. We brought back the motions. We brought back the motion controllers. So that way you can feel like you're shooting a gun. PlayStation Move, anyone? Didn't work. So what makes you think this is going to work? It's not. Everyone's going to get a Mobius and they're going to stick to that. The originality was sucked out of E3 this year, and people, it's like a blur. There's like this line which was clearly there, which said a couple of years ago the reason why consoles were so good was because nothing had been done. Nothing on consoles had been done. So that way, whenever something was particularly done, like, oh, look, you can get a three-dimensional car for like this heist chase, and there's police cars everywhere, never been done before, and everyone was like, yes, this is what I want to see. So that was new and original because it had never been done before. Doing it for the umpteenth time and saying, look, remember that thing we did? Do you still like us? And that was the entire E3. It was just people primarily trying to poke the audience, going, remember this? Remember this? and all of the surprisingly, this is what I noticed from the PS4 and Xbox One's lineup of games. Right, most of them are exclusives. Most of them have no relevance to 360 or PS3, which is a massive, like, just no, because the whole point, the reason why no one's getting a PS4 or an Xbox One is because there was like no library, there was nothing worth getting because they were all exclusives and bad. So they completely crossed that out. Here we go. Right. Okay. This just it niggled at me. It's the fact that everyone just literally, when I say that this entire E3 was literally just them poking people, saying, remember this, they took it to an extreme by saying, all these these original games that came out on the PS2 and the PS1, well, we're making sequels to them, which could have been made like a couple of years ago for the PS3, which would have been ideal, because it's sort of like, oh, this is the PS3. Before moving on to the next console, we want to see if we can push the PS3 to its limits, and we want to have some sort of game on this, because we know that hardly anyone is going to get an next-gen console on its release, because there's going to be nothing out for it. Nope, complete scratch that. Instead, all of the releases people have been waiting for ages, or even releases no one asked for, like successors to, like I said, Eco, Shadow Colossus, stuff like that. They could have launched Last Guardian on PS3. They could have launched it on PS3, but they delayed it, and they probably said some sort of like, oh wait, it's too soon, just so that way they could release it on the PS4. They did the same with Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, and be completely honest, Dream Drop Distance was supposed to be like this amazing title and all this sort of stuff. It was on the 3DS, which was good, but I felt like that title could have been on the PS3, made for consoles. But instead of handing Kingdom Hearts 3 on the PS3, which would have been an amazing advantage towards them, they decided to leave it until the next gen consoles came out. And nope, the sales rating is just gonna shoot down now. So yeah, it looks, they're just getting games and saying, remember this, we're gonna make a sequel off of it, you didn't want it, so yeah. It's like Shenmue 3. Everyone had been asking for that like 5 years ago, but then everyone like went, oh well, they're not gonna make that, well, let's move on to better things then. And then out of nowhere this year they just went, hey, we put it on Kickstarter. Huh? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd probably do a Shenmue series on my YouTube channel in the future, because it's a game which I haven't played much of, but it's a game which I like to explore. But I know for a fact that everyone that played it sort of gave up on a sequel a while ago, and for them just to shoot out now, it's like it's like saying, oh, you really want this console, don't you? You really want this new console, don't you? And they're waiting for like 5 or 6 years, and by then like 2 or 3 new versions of that console came out, and then all of a sudden you say, oh look, I got that console you wanted a couple of years ago. It's really outdated now. No thanks. You get what I mean. So yeah, this was a bit of a rant video. This was something. So yeah, my god, sort yourselves out, okay? If you can't find an original idea, that doesn't mean that you should just scrape the bottom of the barrel from a couple of years ago. That doesn't mean that you should start fishing for something that nobody asked for. Or, instead of looking for something that nobody asked for and looking for something that everyone asked for, look for something that nobody expected. Like, people asked for this in a video game, and then apply that to a new concept. Like, I don't know, there was like a few new IPs out there that looked like they could be good. Horizon Zero Dawn looks like it could be good. However, in the back of my head, the one thing that was playing up on me was Tomb Raider. It looked like Tomb Raider, I can't lie. You give a woman a bow and arrow, and you throw her into like a third-person action scene where she's got different types of arrows and she's firing at this thing. I just thought Tomb Raider. I can't help it. They said it was going to be open world, but there was no evidence of that in the gameplay trailer or demo, so no, don't care. We're going to wait probably like 5 years for the next Killzone game to come out, which no one's going to ask for because no one asked for the previous one. And then we're going to wait like another 5 years for some like GTA 6, which everyone probably wanted in like 2 or 3 years from now, but nope, it's probably going to be in like mass development, just like a bunch of other games, because that's what game developers think's going to be the next big thing. They think that they can just like put a delay on all their games for the better console, which nobody has. It's going to be good. Not exactly. I'm Extremeprey. I'm tired of you, E3. I'm tired of you game developers in general. Unless you could think of some original idea. It doesn't even have to be original, as I stated before. Just get a concept which people haven't seen in a while and apply it to a new concept. That doesn't mean that you have to, when I say get a concept which has been used for a while, that doesn't mean rip a game from ages ago. That doesn't mean make a sequel from a game ages ago. That just means get something that people are unfamiliar with and bring it back, because they're generally the things that are like the hidden gems, like the Portal series, stuff like that. Because the reason why they were so good was because, you know, not many games were fully devoted to like first person or FPS puzzles. And then we got the Talos Principle, which was a good game, because that was probably the first sort of other game that was similar to it, besides from, you know, Cube and Quantum something or other. Just do your magic, make original game, make something good. If you don't, you failed us all. Goodbye.